All right. Hold on. Stream this live. There we go. Now we're in business. All right. Here we go. So my name's Chris Berry, certified LL attorney and certified financial planner with Castle Wealth Group. We like to do these Wednesday workshops where we just answer questions um, that our clients and individuals submit. So there's no um, uh, typically we don't have any agenda or anything. I'm not giving any type of presentation. It's just answering questions. And yes, we can hear you. All right, perfect. Sorry, I was coming in late from a meeting and clicked the wrong Zoom button. So we're in business. I apologize for that. All right. And so I always like to start with a positive focus. And my positive focus is that we're in our new office, and this is our first Wisdom webinar in our new office in Brighton. We still have all of our satellite offices, but we moved our main Brighton office where a team gets all the work done just down the street. We're at corner of Grand River and Hilton, where all the construction is. We double our space. We have a 10-year lease. Another positive focus, we just brought on another team member, Linda. She's going to be a client service coordinator. She has a lot of financial experience as well. So we're pretty excited about that. All right. And so, again, we do these every week, really just answering questions submitted from our clients or people kind of following us. So the first question I had submitted via email is how much money do you actually need to retire safely today? Um, it's kind of it's a little bit of a loaded question. And the easy answer I'm going to tell you is it depends. It depends on a lot of different factors. Typically, when we're looking at just a basic kind of financial plan, one of the first questions is how long do we think that you're going to live? We call the nice way to talk about it is plan horizon. Everyone's plan horizon is a little bit different. Uh, so typically, we plan out to at least 90, but we look to kind of longevity of your parents and your health, and we need to make sure we know how long we need to plan for your money to last. Uh, I would say a second factor is what do you think you're going to spend in retirement? There's kind of a general rule that most people in retirement are spending about 80 to 100% of what they needed while they were working. It's just, again, a general rule. Everyone's situation is a little bit different, but that's when we're doing comprehensive planning. We're taking a look at five different worlds. We're taking a look at your asset allocation, creating structured income, like when to take Social Security. I actually just got out of a meeting running a little bit late today. Uh, they aren't getting Social Security, or one of the spouses isn't getting Social Security because they get the railroad pension, which is kind of unique. It actually takes away from your Social Security. So typically, you're either getting the railroad pension or Social Security, versus a lot of teachers or old employees of the big three. They have pensions plus their Social Security. So we need to figure out how do we create that structured income. And then taxes. Taxes, I think, are one of the biggest risks and biggest opportunities right now. And I see a lot of families missing some tax planning opportunities, given the taxes are the lowest that they're ever, or the lowest that basically anyone on this call today, the lowest tax brackets you've ever seen. And so taxes are either going to kind of remain where they're at least probably till 2028, or probably go up in the future. And so if you have a lot of tax deferred accounts, maybe it makes sense to do conversions, pulling money out of the IRAs. And then long-term care planning and healthcare planning. A lot of my clients are concerned with long-term care costs, especially seeing that people are living longer than ever. They're seeing their parents going into independent living, assisted living, nursing home care. Um, and so how do we mitigate those costs? And then estate planning. So um, those are kind of the five worlds of financial and retirement planning. But the question was, how much money do you actually need to retire safely today? A lot of times people in the past said like, oh, I need to have $1 million, but It really depends. The big factors it depends on is how long you're going to live. It depends on what your expenses are. Do you need 5,000 a month? Do you need 10,000 a month? Do you need 4,000 a month? Do you have any big expenditures coming up? And so, really, the question of how much do you need to live on is really a structured income question of, okay, we have these assets, and now if we're moving into retirement, how do we move from an accumulation phase where it's all about saving as much as possible to what's that distribution and preservation phase? And a lot of times we take a bucket approach where we look at, okay, our now bucket is money we might need over the next year. And that money should be sitting in checking, savings, a high yield savings account. And that should be made up of things like your emergency fund, let's say 6 months worth of expenses, plus any big expenses you have planned for the year. So I was sitting down with some clients yesterday. They're taking a big trip to Montana. It's going to be about 5 grand. Plus, they're going to fix up the deck. That's another 10 grand. I had some other clients this year. They bought an RV for about 90,000. So that money should be safe, liquid, sitting in cash. And then the third thing as part of that now bucket is your income gap. And that's the big thing to figure out is what is going to be your income gap in retirement. And what that income gap is you look at your fixed sources of income. So maybe you have Social Security and pension at 4,000 a month, but then your expenses are at 6,000 a month. So that means you have an income gap of about 2,000 a month, so about 24,000 a year. Let's round up 25,000. So we know that we're going to have to pull out 25,000 a year from those assets each year to fill up that now bucket to cover that income bucket. And then the second bucket that we would have is what we call our soon bucket. Think of this as money that we might need over the next 10 years. So if our income gap each year is 25,000, then just roughly, we might need 250,000 in that soon bucket that's invested more conservatively, geared towards income, where each year we're moving money from the soon bucket to the now bucket to cover that income gap. So that should be invested more conservatively, using conservative tools or conservative um, uh, investments. And then our later bucket is money we might not need over the next 10 years. And that money could be invested more towards growth, could be towards legacy, um, could be uh, uh, could be things like planning for long-term care. So, how much money do you need for retirement? That's where we got to sit down and figure that out. I sat down with some clients yesterday. They're planning on she's basically retired. He's planning on retiring in April. We kind of map that out to show that, hey, in their situation, they're probably going to leave if they live to age 90, kind of mapping everything out, they're probably going to leave about $1 million on the table. So that tells them they can spend more, or if their goal is to leave that to the next generation, they can. So that question of how much money do I need in retirement, that's what financial planning is all about. And that's why what we do as a CFP and a certified LLA attorney is we help our clients figure out how much income they need, how their investments should be structured, taxes, long-term care costs, long-term care planning, and estate planning. So I don't have a specific answer for you, but it's really about what is your situation, what are your goals, what are you trying to accomplish, how much you're going to spend, how long you're going to live, how much have you saved up. And how have you saved it in pre-tax accounts versus post-taxes? Because again, if you have a lot of tax-deferred retirement accounts like 401ks and IRAs, if all of a sudden taxes go up 10%, your investments just took a 10% hit. Because understand you're always going to have to pay taxes on those accounts. It's just a matter of when and how. So everyone's situation is a little bit different. Um, so hopefully that's helpful. All right. Here's a question. Is an IRA protected from a lawsuit? What about a home in the name of both spouses? Okay. So IRAs and 401ks are what we call qualified accounts. There's a tax qualification for them. Your 401ks or employer-sponsored plans are protected up to $1 million through what's called ERISA, which I can't remember what it stands for. Employment, retirement, something, something. But they're ERISA plans. And the federal government says that your IRAs are protected up to the federal government says that your 401ks or your employer-sponsored retirement plans, I think that's ERISA, employer-sponsored retirement, I don't know. Your employer-sponsored retirement plans are protected up to $1 million. So that's your 401ks, 403bs, TSPs, et cetera. So these are the retirement accounts if you keep them at your employer. Federal government says across the board, those are protected up to $1 million from a lawsuit, meaning you could go bankrupt because you got in a car accident, but the retirement accounts are protected. Now the question is, what about IRAs? IRAs are typically protected at the state level through different laws. Most states follow that same rule as well. Michigan does. So your IRAs would be protected up to $1 million in a lawsuit. Now, where they might not be protected is if it's like a divorce or something like that. And then where they're for sure not protected is if you're to need long-term care, more specifically nursing home care. So if you need nursing home care, which runs $10,000 to $15,000 a month, understand your 401ks, your IRAs, your spouse's 401ks, their IRAs, those are not protected from that nursing home or Medicaid spend down. So that's another reason not only are taxes going up in the future, but a lot of our clients are pulling money, paying the taxes strategically on those 401ks and IRAs and moving them into an asset protection trust. We call that a castle trust, where now they can invest it post-tax. Now it can be not only asset protected from lawsuits, just like an IRA or 401k, but more importantly, now it can be protected from the devastating cost of nursing home care if it's inside of an asset protection trust. So yeah, IRAs are protected up to $1 million typically if you were to get sued. And then the follow-up question, what about a home in the name of both spouses? Yeah, so this is going to be state specific, but Michigan, if we have a married couple that owns a house jointly and one of the spouses were to get sued, the state of Michigan gives what's called tenancy by the entireties. So it's a form of joint ownership with right of survivorship that's only available to married couples. And with this tenancy by the entireties, it does offer asset protection if one of the spouses were to get sued. Now, if you're just joint with like your brother, that's just plain joint ownership with right of survivorship. That wouldn't be protected. But if it's a married couple, then it would be protected. Okay. So if you do have any other questions, feel free to put it in the Q&A. See here. Done. All right. That looks like all I have for this week. So I want to thank everyone. We will keep this ball rolling. I'm taking a look at my calendar, just making sure we should be good for next week. Yep, we should be good for next week. So if you do have any other questions, feel free to send over an email so we can address them on the next weekly call. And then in the future, there's going to be a couple topics I'm just going to cover, doing maybe a short little presentation. So look forward to that. Or if you do have any like specific topics you want me to do a deep dive on, feel free to email that over. So with that, I want to thank